Hello and welcome to ICANN Media. We are coming to you from beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. We are just outside of Canada, a place where a huge conference is going on called Globe 2014. I'm your host, Rob Hislop, and over the next couple of days, we're going to be heading into the conference, taking in some of the many sessions and talking to some of the keynote speakers. Some of the topics discussed: changing energy landscapes and responsible resource management. Now, there are over 250 plus speakers, world leaders in their industry, talking here over the next 3 days. 50 plus countries are represented, and there are over 300 exhibitors at the trade show. We are going to give you a taste of what Globe 2014 has in store. Okay. Joining us now on ICANN Media, Robert Kennedy Jr. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Tell us why it's important for you to come to an event like Globe 2014.
Well, I think it's important to make the point that good environmental policy 100% of the time is identical to good economic policy. If we want to measure our economy, and this is how we ought to be measuring it, based upon how it produces jobs and the dignity of jobs over the generations, over the long term, and how it preserves the value of the assets of our community. If, on the other hand, we want to do what the big polluters and their indentured servants in the political process and their toadies on Fox News and, hate radio want us to do, which is to treat the planet as if it were a business in liquidation and convert our natural resources to cash as quickly as possible and have a few years of pollution-based prosperity, we can generate an instantaneous cash flow. And the illusion of a prosperous economy, we can make a few people billionaires by impoverishing the rest of us. But our children are going to pay for our joyride, and they're going to pay for it with denuded landscapes and poor health and huge cleanup costs that are going to amplify over time and that they'll never be able to pay.
Mm-hmm. You hear politicians often say we don't want to put future generations in debt, but they do it financially, and now they're doing it with the environment as well.
It's spending. And one of the things that I've done over the past 3 decades as an advocate and as a business person is to constantly make this argument that an investment in our environment does not diminish our nation's wealth. It's an investment in infrastructure, the same as investing in telecommunications or road construction or railroads or internet infrastructure. It's an investment, and we have to make if we're going to ensure the vitality of our generation and future generations.
I would think you come at this from a unique perspective as well, being a businessman, an environmentalist, and also having your political background as well with the family. Does it give you extra insight into some of the issues that the world is facing?
I think you have to understand politics because the subversion of our political system is the source of a market failure. Because the incumbents, which are the carbon cronies, oil, coal, and gas and nuke, have used their political clout to fortify themselves with subsidies and with regulatory advantages to keep much more efficient and much cheaper disruptive technologies from penetrating the marketplace. And so if you had a true free market capitalism, then oil and gas couldn't survive for a day in the market if you had a flat playing field. But they've been able to tilt it against renewables with trillions of dollars in subsidies and with, I'll give you one example of regulations. In the oil industry, through hundreds of millions of dollars from the Koch brothers and Exxon and a number of other companies, have made it almost impossible to build transmission lines in the United States, which of course is the media for wind and solar, and they've made it very, very easy to build pipelines. So we've constructed in our country about 16,000 miles of pipeline in the last decade, and only 600 miles of transmission line. So, and that gives them a huge advantage in the marketplace that we can't access. So that's a market failure. In a true free market, we'd all have a level playing field, and we'd compete at the consumer level, so the consumer would buy the cheapest power, and we can produce it cheaper than they can. Except they externalize their costs, they socialize the cost of pollution while they internalize their profits.
You talked in your session about change is hard. Are you optimistic about the future and that change will happen?
Well, I'm always optimistic, but I'm realistic too.
Thank you so much for your time. We've been chatting with Robert Kennedy Jr. here on ICANN Media.